I've got to help out. Cover for me.
Very good cover. Start taking place at 2 o'clock Eastern right now. Instead, we saw it happen about 10 minutes or so ago, that the Bushes greeted the Obamas on the south lawn of the White House. The president and the president-elect took that traditional walk down the colonnade. We have seen this shot certainly so many times before. It is an image really that is steeped in American history, and particularly with this transition as well. This is the first transition post 9/11, of course, and this is the first African-American president-elect.
Started just yet.
I wanted to ask about, I guess, press access to today. The meeting with the Vice President and Vice President-elect Pence is close press, which is a break from past precedent. And Carol reported that the Obamas canceled a photo op.
That's not true.
Okay. Can you talk about then why we didn't have a photo op in the way that we have in previous administrations, and why there's no press access, and particularly if this is...
Well, first of all, Justin, you just were in the Oval Office with the President of the United States and the President-elect, so it's not accurate to say that there was no press access. But let's just be clear about what's happened. Over the last 8 years, I've enjoyed the opportunity to have many of you in my office over the years advocating for greater access to the President and the work that he's doing in the Oval Office. And what that typically means is you coming in and advocating for the opportunity to see the President of the United States sitting in the Oval Office, photograph him sitting next to the person that he's meeting with, and then hear from both people about the meeting. That's the priority that has been conveyed to me in countless meetings with all of you over the last 8 years. That is exactly what was provided today. That was not provided in 2008. I wasn't part of designing the press access for 2008, so I can't account for all of the reasons for that. But the press access that we put together today was based on the guidance that we've received from all of you over the last 8 years about what the priority is. And we're pleased to be in a position to provide that today. It is an indication of the commitment that we have to transparency, and it's an indication that the President has to building public confidence in the shared commitment to a smooth and effective transition. What better way for the American public to understand that the President-elect and the outgoing President of the United States share a priority of a smooth and effective transition than to allow you all into the Oval Office to hear them talk about their commitment to that effort.
I mean, one way to demonstrate that you guys are committed to that, I guess, effective transfer of power would be to show the Vice President or show the First Lady welcoming their successors into the White House. And so...
But I think we would all just agree that that would be lower in priority than what was provided today. And what was provided today is unprecedented in terms of the kind of access that was granted to previous White House press corps. So look, there's always going to be this back and forth, as I've stated before.
The reason that this is relevant, and the reason that I'm asking the question is, while the President has come out and sort of put on a cherry face, we know obviously many people here are disappointed. First Lady spoke passionately about how she found Donald Trump to be an unacceptable choice. So are we to read anything, or even putting aside whether we should read anything, is the reason that there wasn't press access to either of those events because the First Lady or the Vice President didn't want to be photographed or appear alongside?
Absolutely not. In fact, I'm not aware that the First Lady's office was consulted about the press arrangements for today. I certainly didn't consult with them. What we can do is we can go back to the White House photographer and see if there are any photos from the greet so that you all can get some insight into how that went. So we'll follow up with you on that.
First Lady and Mrs. Trump walked over after the press left.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, the next thing, going back to Justin and the historic pictures of the transition. I recall when George W. Bush was president-elect, then President Bill Clinton walked him down the colonnade to the Oval Office, and press were there. I remember 8 years ago when George W. Bush and Mrs. Bush, Laura Bush, former First Lady Laura Bush, greeted this then President-elect, Barack Obama, at the diplomatic room door. And they also did the walk.
Yeah.
What happened? I mean, I understand you said you wanted us to see them more, so you want to give us more access. But the precedent has already been set for those kind of walks and pictures to happen. What happened at this piece?
Yeah. Well, we went over and above the precedent by providing access to the Oval Office. And you and I have talked about this many times over the last 8 years, that the priority that you place is getting access to the Oval Office and hearing directly from the president and the person that he's meeting with about the meeting that just occurred. That didn't happen in 2000 when President Clinton welcomed President-elect George W. Bush to the White House. That didn't happen in 2008 when President Bush welcomed President-elect Obama to the White House. I'm not criticizing the two previous administrations or the two previous White Houses. I'm merely stating that the access that was provided by this White House is entirely consistent with the kind of requests that we've been fielding from all of you over the last 8 years. So we'll see. Francesca, I'll give you the last one.
Thank you, Josh. Let me start by saying I appreciate you pointing out that in 2000 and 2008 that reporters didn't have access to the Oval Office meeting because some of us were not there at that time to remember that. Sorry, you did. I appreciate you pointing that out about the Oval Office access meeting. But I think what we're trying to understand is what the thinking behind not allowing reporters to be on the South Lawn today was, what the thinking was behind that and why that happened.
Yeah. The idea was just that we wanted to provide you the best access that we could, and the best access that all of you have consistently advocated for the last 8 years is access to the president and the person that he's meeting with in the Oval Office with statements in front of the full pool, and that's exactly what was provided today.
And what then, if anything, should we draw from the fact that we have neither heard from nor seen the First Lady today?
Well, listen, as I mentioned earlier, we'll consult with the White House photographer. Presumably you guys have been able to do that already. So we'll try to expedite the release of a photo so that you can see that interaction. But I can tell you that the First Lady enjoyed the opportunity that she had to welcome Mrs. Trump to the White House and to give her the tour that I described earlier and to discuss the unique demands of raising a family in the White House. The First Lady was pleased to extend that courtesy to Mrs. Trump and enjoyed the opportunity that she had to visit with her today.